This is a Redis Tech Talk.
In my section, I'm going to go over the value of the cloud, the different on-ramps to the cloud, the challenges associated with those, and how Redis Enterprise Cloud is built for you no matter where you are on your cloud journey. So the cloud provides enormous value, whether it's building those new digital applications that are going to modernize your business and gain new revenue streams, consolidating data silos, simplifying your operations and reducing cost and optimizing total cost of ownership, or scaling your business up and down instantaneously with elasticity. Think about things in the retail for a use case, for example, Cyber Monday and Black Friday, where data has to be spun up very high and then brought down very low in a very short amount of time. The elasticity of the cloud is great for those type of use cases, especially for your always on, always working applications that are driving this new revenue stream, right? 24/7 customer experience is absolutely critical in this world because competition is one click away at the fingertips of your users. But the cloud also brings about inherent challenges. For one of the on-ramps, right, probably the most popular one, cloud migration is ripe with challenges. Lifting and shifting all of your workloads over from on-premise to the cloud, or doing so in a staggered fashion, can create cost challenges, data silos, availability concerns. Really, folks think about the cloud as something that is going to optimize your costs, but if not done correctly in a cloud migration world, you can drive those costs up very quickly and segment your disparate data across all of your different environments. And while doing so, it can also be very risky from an availability perspective for your end users. And microservices architectures compound this complexity. As we lift and shift our infrastructure from on-premise to the cloud, we're also breaking up our monolithic applications into microservices. Think about your business critical applications that absolutely need the lowest latency and need to be agile and innovated on as quickly as possible. Microservices is the best route for that, but it is making a huge shift to your data layer as well. Oftentimes, folks are starting to use a decentralized database management technique where you have different data stores and databases per each service. Your session store, your catalog, your search, your authentication. This can be expensive, complex, and slow very quickly if you don't have one unified data platform for all of these different use cases. And cloud native brings new sets of challenges. Think about microservices, containers, and serverless functions. The ephemerality of these technologies creates hyperscale and elasticity that can break systems that aren't built for this, legacy platforms. Global data distribution. It's so easy now to be able to spin up a cloud region versus building out a data center in Europe or wherever it may be that you have to serve your customers in. There's a lower barrier of entry, but this also creates concerns. And the latency around that, right? Being able to continue to build on that promise of real-time user experiences, which is becoming absolutely baseline for every business. And if we step back, data is at the root of all of these challenges. 91% of organizations moving to the cloud specify mass data fragmentation as the cause of not fully realizing cloud benefits. Data at the heart of our business is the one thing that is really stopping us from truly realizing the value of the cloud. And data challenges are only growing. So, in a world maybe 10 years ago, consumers were creating this data and managing this data. Enterprises have scaled up enormously as the technologies have grown. 175 zettabytes of existing data will be created and managed by enterprises in 2025. Huge, massive amounts of data. Think about IoT, edge computing, the different use cases, connected cars, cities, etc., that are going to bring on a new proliferation of data that we've never seen before. So as we're thinking about our cloud infrastructure, we absolutely have to be thinking about the data layer and reimagining that as we lift and shift or drop and shop and move to the cloud. And Redis has been an absolute key. The open source technology has been an absolute key for folks that are moving to this new cloud world. And Redis has been the most popular due to its speed. So most launched Docker container and Docker Hub, 5.4 million Docker launches, just an incredible amount of usage of the open source technology of Redis. The most loved database technology in Stack Overflow, 4 years running. The key there being most loved database technology. a lot of folks think of Redis as a caching service, but it can also be leveraged for database technologies as well. And so we really have core use cases, right? As we built out this real-time data platform with Redis Enterprise, we have a software version that's managed yourself as well as a cloud version. And it's a first-party integration with Microsoft Azure. We have 2 tiers that leverage Redis Enterprise technology on top of Azure Cache for Redis. And those tiers are Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise tiers. Each of those tiers allow for you to have the real-time data that you need in a platform built for things like fraud detection, real-time inventory, forecasting, leaderboards for gaming, caching, session management, customer 360 for retail, claims processing, and a recommendation engine built for all these different use cases and beyond. The data structures that you've come to know and love from Redis open source, as well as new modules that you can leverage to build this multimodal database. Redis Enterprise is built from the creators of Redis. It's where the home of Redis is. We continue to commit the most code to the open source technology, and we'll continue to innovate in that space. But we've built on top of that the core enterprise features that are needed for these new use cases and these modern applications. So Redis Enterprise delivers unique value, performance at scale, being able to scale up at hyperscale, but also maintain sub-millisecond latency. Optimized TCO, another feature that you can leverage in the highest tier of Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise is Redis on Flash. A lot of folks talk to us and say, well, in-memory is too expensive. Redis on Flash can help you optimize that total cost of ownership and cut down on your cost. Doing more with data, talking about the data models that I just mentioned previously. Operational flexibility, being completely abstracted away. Redis Enterprise Cloud is a completely serverless technology, abstracted away from the users, also has instant failover capabilities, active geo-replication that allows you to unify your data across the globe at local latency, and developer productivity. So now you no longer have to deal with managing Redis. You can focus on your core business and truly moving the needle. So we typically see our customers leveraging Redis Enterprise Cloud in a crawl, walk, run strategy. So just starting over on the left here, oftentimes customers are leveraging us as an enterprise cache. The sub-millisecond latency under virtually any load, that's what we mean by real time. It's the only way you're going to get real-time applications is sub-millisecond latency, 5 nines uptime with active geo-replication. So having that local latency at global scale and being able to scale out your business globally. Effective TCO, like I've talked about previously, with multi-tenancy and tiered memory access. The data modules for your application modernization that we touched on before, continuing to leverage the speed that you've come to know and love with open source Redis, and applications built for a data economy. So if you're leveraging AI and ML, Redis Enterprise Cloud can help you on that journey as well.
I'd like to introduce my friends, Dustin and Don. I hope I can get them on camera. Say hey.
Hey guys.
Don, are you there? Are you available?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Technology is hard sometimes. This is fun. So, SitePro is an interesting one, and I like to talk about it because of this. I have some scar tissue. I've been in the seat of having these regular meetings. Weekly. On Monday, I met with a vendor. On Tuesday, I met with a different vendor. And it was every week I kind of had this cadence with these different vendors. But never once did I feel like, even though I only had one product, I had one product that was going to market, I never felt like they were working together. And already, from I think it was maybe our second meeting, Dustin, you introduced me to Don. You said, hey, this is what Don's doing with us. And I understood the path that you were on. And I was able to reach out and communicate with Don. And I can see Don's super popular. He's got this great history and experience around DevOps, containerization, moving things to the modernization, Kubernetes, et cetera. So it's been fun. I'm guessing that being in a position where your partners are actually working together behind the scenes, they don't have to be on a call, and you know that they're working together, I have to guess that feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than good. Honestly, it's the exact synergy that we needed to kind of move what we're doing in our industry off high center. Like we're moving away from old ideas and embracing more of the cloud, containerization, Kubernetes, the whole gamut, and we're virtualizing a lot of our critical infrastructure to live there. So naturally, there was a lot of questions and concerns around making that big of a shift for a system that worked really well as designed, but we needed to move into something that's more scalable, something that's more secure, more high availability. So naturally, having not only the Redis Labs team involved and peeling back the layers of the new Enterprise Edition and showing us the things that we could be using, paired with Don Hai's efforts to kind of streamline our efforts to go into the Kubernetes space more efficiently. And I think that having that confidence, being able to lean in on that expertise has been priceless. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So, Don, my understanding is there's kind of this program that Cypro is a member of that really is kind of designed to help them go down this modernization effort. Can you tell me more about that?
Exactly. Well, the program that I'm in Fast Track. So Fast Track for ISV and startups. So we especially, emphasize on smaller companies and startups and ISVs who are trying to utilize Azure to the fullest of its ability and just need somewhere to start, right? I'm the cloud native expert. They call me Don Hai, the container guy. So if any new company that comes in and they want to use containerization to the next level, that's when they bring me in. Certified CKA, all of those certifications, and I love to speak with these guys. And what I loved about Cypro was, these guys was down to earth. They're like the guys next door. I always loved our meetings. Talking with these guys and giving them anything that these guys wanted to have to be able to take their application to the next level. And we started off with these what we call engagements. So each engagement inside the ISV program is about a subject, right? We have containerization, how we can do DevOps, how we can do CI/CDP, GitOps, and all of these cool containerization ideas because I've been doing this for a while, and everyone's small. All these ISVs and startups are in different journeys because containerization is new, right? So what the ISV startup program is allowed to get everybody on the same page and be on one accord to help those guys succeed.
So I heard about this right away. It really kind of opened up. I was learning more about Azure at the time. Dustin was learning more about the Redis Enterprise offering, and we were just kind of sharing. It has been this unique experience where we can kind of share and understand. I knew where his efforts were with Don. I knew where they were going, and I was kind of introducing some new, but we had this kind of alignment. Again, I'm just excited about that kind of partnership behind the scenes that we've been able to do over, we're pushing over half of a year now working together, and it's been wonderful. So these efforts coming together and kind of having that same North Star, I thought that would have been really nice for my vendors to have that relationship. It would have been nice that they collaborated a little bit. So I felt like maybe that was a good thing to talk about. Dustin, what else have you seen with this partnership and these new services?
Well, obviously, we strive to produce the best-in-class software. We deal with a lot of intricate details, and we needed that expertise, right? So, and the energy level too, right? So, anytime you're embarking on a rather lengthy transition from legacy to something that's modern, it can seem daunting. And it seemed like both Deshaun and Don were able to demystify a lot of the craziness that surrounded the ideas that we needed to do. And I think that was very important because it gave us the empowerment to help educate the shareholders, the stakeholders in these projects and whatnot with credible expertise. Not just, here I found this really awesome repo on GitHub and it shows us how to do these. It's like, no, man, these guys, we're already well embedded in Azure. We've been in Azure for many years, and we really love it. We've been using Redis for 10 years, so it's crazy the synergy that with the Enterprise Edition. So it helped us with our stakeholders, the people that were interested in where we were progressing the technology stack, and it made it a lot easier to leverage, to lean on that expertise and be like, okay, well, this is that's your opinion, and these are Microsoft experts. You know, that's your opinion, and this is the Redis lab guys that are in contact with the people that are writing the core software that we're leveraging.
Can we take a step back and talk about what does your company do? Because that's interesting beyond or on its own. Tell me about what your company does.
Absolutely, man. So Cypro is one of the is a forward-thinking automation solution company. There's no doubt about it. We are fully embedded in both the energy sector, municipal, water, and even agriculture. We've started to embrace other automation, industrial automation, such as HVAC and things of that nature. But really, we are centered around the moving fluid. Like, we're really, really good at that. So we've, like, recently with all of the automation stuff in municipalities, we noticed that it's very anemic, right? You have a lot of legacy systems that are running the most critical infrastructure in the world that has been pretty neglected, in the sense that it's all very old technology, and a lot of vendors come in, they write software for these municipalities or these city governments, and they kind of just walk on down the road after they're done, and they don't keep in contact. There's no long-going support, so it ages, and it doesn't age well. As you can see from all the ransomware attacks and the Stuxnet, and it's just endless. So I think with us, we're fully empowered to modernize automation. That is what we do. We are highly responsible for these global resources that Cassie was mentioning earlier. I think that it's very important for us to be very confident in what we do, but really we're trying to remove the black box of automation, right? We want to demystify, like, the whole process. Traditionally, it's very niche. You have to be educated in a very specific type of technology. And, like, I like to compare it to, like, the old world being DOS and the new world being point-and-click operating systems. That's where we fall. And we allow people to make educated decisions without having to fully understand the complexity that's going on. A lot of that complexity is built into the system, and, you know, if you tell something like, you know, in the automation world, if you tell a pump to turn on, in a lot of systems, it'll just turn on. And our system, it uses an intelligent remote control aspect where it actually evaluates all the potential outcomes by making that decision. So it really has, we really differentiate ourselves in that aspect. And we really couldn't do that without Azure or Redis. Like, every field computer that we have out there, 100 plus instances of Redis running, communicating back up, really is our arteries, its main veins of moving data through our entire infrastructure. And so naturally, as we progressed on and on, it became obvious to us that we've created our own hardware that goes out in the field. So, you know, we've pivoted away, and we haven't really abandoned it, but, like, we were looking at a more efficient way of managing all this in the cloud. So we're virtualizing a lot of our site software to run in the cloud and talk to our IoT devices that are out in the field directly, so that we can streamline that entire process even more.
So when I came into the story, Party started this process with Don. You guys were kind of moving. You had these efforts where you're virtualizing things, but that IoT use case, devices that don't always have a resilient connection, right? These connections are timing out, or they disconnect for a while. That's kind of where I came into the story. You're moving, you're trying to modernize, you're trying to get these new ideas to the market, but you had this little pain point where, hey, my connection was gone, and now I've got this dump of data, of time series data that comes in, and this is where our story begins.
Yeah, our story was pretty revolutionary for us, and still a work in progress that because it's a large amount of data and a large infrastructure scope that we're having to cover here. But so, like, just to boil it down real easy, so for us to make those intelligent decisions, or even to provide dashboards that allow stakeholders in these companies or whatnot to make decisions around some of the data that they're seeing, we needed to produce as much value. We're in the theory we're in the camp of, like, more data is better than less data. So we want to, like, will overwhelm people with options and data and configurations and filtering and all this stuff. But almost like a power user. But we also like to water it down and make it simple for specific personas that are using our software. To achieve that, though, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of sensors out in the field that are producing real-time data into an API. Which in turn we had propped up a bunch of legacy infrastructure that basically did our own time series analysis of this data, and we would resample every 15 minutes that as something came in, and it just it's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of development costs there. There's a lot of support costs, and that's one of the things that I think is noteworthy with both Microsoft and the Redis Labs team is this has never been about, hey, can we drive up the bill? Can we drive up the bill? Can we get more Redis instances? Can we tap out, can you guys hit 7 figures on your Azure bill a month? We don't want to try to do that, right? And that's never been part of this discussion. And I think naturally, as we've embraced more and more of that technology, I think that's how it's going to play out, right? We're going to end up investing more time and resources around these products. And so by default, obviously the spend will go up. But it's never been the goal. The goal has 1,000% been producing the most efficient and real-time type solutions that we can offer to our end users. And that was the most important thing for me is, how can we take all this hundreds of thousands of sensor data coming in? And my CEO, Aaron, and I were on the call with the Redis Labs team, and we were going through all these things, and the time series module came up, and it was like we both looked at each other like, man, because we knew we had a bunch of time wasted on all of the development that we had done in the past to basically replicate what Redis Enterprise offered right out of the box. So we're actually migrating the enterprise solution right now to Kubernetes. So we're going to be re-hoisting up, and we're going to actually be leveraging more of the new stuff with some of the Redis functions to actually do some of our sampling production of the objects that we pull out. We're gonna start using the Redis search and that amazing index to pull this stuff out at lightning fast speeds. So that in itself, and that is one story that this has produced like positive results from. But it is just one example of the many ways and the many things that we're doing, both with the Kubernetes now and Redis. There's no doubt that we're going to continue that path and keep exploring more and more. Anywhere I can turn off old development stuff in favor of something that is well supported and proven, I'm all for it. I'm all for
focusing
it.
on your business, right?
Absolutely.
And what I heard early was this that legacy time series. That was kind of a pain point. It was a sore point, and you had all of this work that you were doing with Don. So I'm assuming, again, outside looking in, that having this partnership the way it is, it allowed you to kind of focus on other more important efforts. I look at Cypro as kind of changing the game, and I know that there's a lot of competition out there, but you have been able to kind of lead in that field and take new things to market, new ideas to market. So I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that this partnership has kind of helped you do that, especially over the last 6 months.
Absolutely. I mean, just like our embarkment on like us being able to enter different verticals rapidly, that can be time consuming, right? From a product standpoint, planning standpoint. And you definitely do not want to have to be bogged down with the day-to-day operations. Once you can kind of get that all buttoned up, you move on down the road, and now we can focus on, at the end of the day, making money, right? I mean, that's what at the end of the day, it's like, how do we scale this? How do we do this? How do we do this? A lot of those questions have been answered. And if they aren't, then I have really good resources to go ask. Hey man, what's the best thing? And then Don will be like, hey, check out the 12 factors, or Sean will be like, no, check out the 13 factors. However, and it's like we're constantly engaged in intellectual thinking, progressively thinking, not only like how can we just keep this thing running, but let's get this to a point where if there's a vertical that comes online and we can solve a need there, then we can make that leap without thinking, well, can we handle it? Is the system ready for this? because we've designed it in a way now that it's pretty flexible, and we can definitely maneuver in between these verticals with ease. So it definitely helps us be able to just focus on the core business. Even though I like to think our core business is technology, but it's like there's a whole bunch of board members that think hey, the business is the business, but my focus is purely on the technology side of things. So it's been really great.
I think here, having that comfort, having this kind of seat at the table, being aware of where you guys are heading, being able to communicate with Don kind of back channel without having to be on a meeting together, there's little values in that. And you brought up kind of moving to Kubernetes. There's some modules that aren't yet available in the fully managed service. So
Correct.
I have 100% confidence that you've got another partner on the team that can take you down that Kubernetes path, and that's been great. So
yes.
I know that that's getting started, and I'm excited about that. This relationship from me, I think I feel the same from Don. We get to talk about football and stuff. We've got a relationship outside of just this seat at the table, and it's been great. I think there's a lot of things to come. Don, what's on your radar for SitePro? What's in the future?
These guys from SitePro actually graduated from our program, but like I said, it's an open door policy for those guys, right? And I know Dustin and I know all these guys, which I think is cool. And it's, like I said, it's an open door. Anytime these guys need help, I'm an email away, I'm a LinkedIn away, or whatever needs to happen. Or if they even need to come back with a new engagement, they can always enroll back into the program, and we can give them some more engagements to help those guys, take those guys to the next level. So it's an open door policy in our ISV for Startup program, because we want to see these guys to succeed, because if they succeed, we succeed, and all our partners succeed as well. So that's the ultimate goal, to have a successful partnership that's going to be able to take all our programs to the next level.
That's wonderful. I like that. It's shared success.